Hey there, and welcome to Love and Free YouTube channel where we talk about everything relationships and marriages. Today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my top 5 relationship fears that hinder individuals from entering relationships and hinder couples from progressing in their relationships. Stick around for fear number 1, the fear of being unsuccessful.
If you find the one, you should never give her up. I think it's the way life changes when
Hey everybody, and welcome to the mini-series Relationship Fears, where I'm going to give you the top 5 relationship fears of why people don't progress in their relationship or why people fear entering a relationship. How many of us have had anything transpire in our lives that made us feel like a complete failure? It didn't work out, we felt unsuccessful. I know I have. When I moved to Georgia with my husband in 2008, we suffered tremendously financially. I mean, it was terrible. It's a terrible experience, but a learning experience, but it was terrible. And I just remember feeling like a failure because I didn't go to college, because I didn't have the good job to help my family sustain their livelihood. And it really gave me a spirit of being fruitless. And that spirit led to negativity and feeling like nothing good was going to come from this situation. I was doomed. I was cursed. I can laugh about it now because I was in an immature state. But then those were real feelings. Those were real things that I felt and that I carried with me for years. And relationships are the same way. Something has happened in our life, and we carry that spirit of thinking that it's going to happen in the next relationship. And I'm big on cause and effect. There's a reason for everything. There's a cause for everything that we do. And there's 3 things that I want to talk about that causes individuals to fear that they will be unsuccessful in their relationship. And the first one is they have trust issues from a previous relationship. Now, it could be that you were deceived about something. Maybe this person had an extra family or extra girlfriend that they were tending to. You could have possibly been cheated on once, twice, or 3 times. You could have been lied to about something, whether major or minor. No matter what it was, trust just lacked in a relationship, and so you think that all men are untrustworthy or all women are untrustworthy. The second thing that I want to talk about is some type of abuse has happened. And I'm not just talking about physical abuse, but mental and emotional abuse. A lot of the times now, I don't want to get punched in my face, but it's important that we understand that mental abuse is just as significant as physical abuse. For the most part, my black eye will heal. The scratches on my body will fade away. But internally, if I'm being abused emotionally, if I'm being abused mentally, verbally, that takes a long time to heal from that. That's stuff that you carry around that's not visible to the naked eye, but it's visible to you because you can feel that on the inside. Now, again, like I said, not saying that one is more significant than the other, but I don't want people to look at abuse and just think physical abuse. It's more to it than that because there's more people getting verbally abused nowadays than, I don't want to say than physical abuse, but there's a lot of people that are verbally abused and they don't even know that they're being verbally abused in their relationship because they think abuse is just physical. The third reason is there is no stability or no example that they saw growing up. So a lot of people now are growing up in single parent households where they're not seeing the role of a husband. They're not seeing the role of a wife. I look at my husband, and he grew up in a 2-parent household where he saw how the husband is the leader. The husband is running the pack behind, right after God. And then he saw how a wife is supposed to conduct herself, how a mother is supposed to be nurturing to her children. So he grew up in that dynamic where he saw all this. And some people are not blessed to have two parents in a household, and they feel like because they didn't see it, they're not going to succeed. And I want to say, just because you didn't grow up in a two-parent household and you didn't see husband and wife where there was a stepfather or stepmother, does not mean that you can't succeed in your relationship. So please don't think that because you didn't grow up seeing it. I want to talk about ways that you will be unsuccessful in a relationship. And that's first having unrealistic expectations. So we have this attitude where we see movies, we see TV shows, and we think that this fairy tale ending is real. We think that this is how it's supposed to be. Every day is supposed to be peaches and cream and candlelight dinners and roses and wine. And no, that's not the case. Now, your good days should outweigh your bad days. If your bad days outweigh your good days, you might want to rethink what's going on in the relationship. But it's an unrealistic expectation to think that your relationship is going to be perfect. Now, I'm not going to go through all unrealistic expectations, but some that I want to highlight is the fact that you may think you won't have to compromise. And I think about the Golden State Warriors before Steve Kerr got there. Andre Iguodala, he was in the starting five lineup, right? When Steve Kerr comes along, he says, for the betterment of the team, I think Andre Iguodala should come off the bench, be the sixth man off the bench. And Andre Iguodala had to adapt to that new role. He had to make a concession. He had to knock down his ego for the betterment of the team. And a relationship is a team. It is selfish to think that you won't have to make some kind of concession in this relationship. That's an unrealistic expectation that people have that, oh, I'm going to get what I want, I'm going to do what I want, and my partner's just going to have to do what I. If you have that idea, your relationship is going to fail, and that's a selfish concept to have in any relationship, on the job, anywhere. I don't care, any relationship. That's a selfish concept to have. Another unrealistic expectation that people have is you'll always be right. You won't disagree. It's important that we realize that you're two different individuals. You came from two separate households, possibly two separate backgrounds, two separate ways of being raised. You're not going to agree on everything. You're going to have difference of opinions. You're going to have different ways of doing things. You're going to have different ways of, it's going to be different. And so you have to understand that you'll disagree. And it's healthy to disagree. I don't want somebody agreeing with every little thing that I say. I want you to open me up to new ways of doing things. I want you to open me up to new ideas. So the second thing that I want to talk about is your relationship will fail if you don't communicate your feelings. People have this thing, I don't want to say people, I'll use myself as an example. The other day, this literally happened the other day. I think I was just in a mood. And my husband, he has the ability, even when I'm smiling, to look at me and see that something is wrong. And so the other day, he asked me, well, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Talk to me. And I said, well, you should know. Okay, well, should he know what's wrong with me? Now, he already identified that he can sense something's wrong with me, but how is he supposed to know exactly what's wrong with me if I don't tell him? You can't expect a relationship to succeed off of what you think your partner should know. If you don't communicate it to them, don't expect them to know. If you have something that is bothering you that they're doing, it's okay to discuss it. Again, you're allowed to have difference of opinions. You're allowed to have a disagreement. You're allowed to talk things over and work things out. Hey, you know what? It's bothering me that you leave the lights on downstairs. Whatever the case may be, you should be able to discuss those feelings. The third thing that I want to talk about that will ruin your relationship is comparing. Comparison, I truly believe this quote is the thief of joy, whether it's individual, whether it's in a relationship. Do not compare previous relationships with your current relationship. They have nothing to do with each other. Now, it is okay to be appreciative that you didn't get this in your last relationship. Maybe this person is doing something better. But comparing and constantly comparing, whether good or bad, is literally living in the past. You can't move on in the future talking about what your ex did or didn't do. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You're in a whole new situation, a whole new experience with a whole new person. Who cares what so-and-so did or didn't do? It doesn't matter. You can appreciate it, but it doesn't matter. Doing that will literally destruct your relationship. The relationship will not function if you constantly comparing. I feel like comparison also leads to criticism, and criticism can lead to arguments. Criticism can lead to disputes, and not comparing in relationships, I don't always think can be positive. And I'm more speaking of that it's a negative if you say something like, well, my wife cooks, my ex-girlfriend used to cook the broccoli crunchy, but you cook it soft. Okay, well then that leads me to say, well, if you don't like the way I'm cooking the broccoli, then you can go ask your ex to do it, or you can do it. You don't want to open the door for something that doesn't have to be. That's what I want to talk about with comparison. So just remember that you can be unsuccessful in a relationship if you have unrealistic expectations, if you don't communicate your feelings, and if you are constantly comparing previous relationships to current relationships. Now, I'm faith-based. I always include the Word of God in everything, and I want to leave people with 3 scriptures. The first one is like the poster scripture for encouragement, and that's I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Now, first, I want you to understand in this series that God did not give us the spirit of fear. That comes from Satan's job is to kill, steal, and destroy, to plant doubt in our minds. And that's fear as well. Fear is doubt. Fear is resistance to wanting to. Fear is literally will consume your life. It will stop you from progressing and doing things that you need to do to excel in your career and in your relationships or anything else. So I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I don't need to fear because I have a God who is going to strengthen me. Also, the Lord declared that He knows the plans He has for us. How blessed are we to know that we have a Creator that knows He created heaven and earth, and He knows the plans that He has for us. It also says in His word that He is with us wherever we go. So I don't need to fear being unsuccessful in my relationship because God is going to be with me wherever I go. He's going to strengthen me. I know I can do all things through Him. And then on top of that, He knows the plans that He has for me. I know that He's going to bless me. I know things are going to work out for my good in the end because I love Him. So I want you to take those 3 scriptures with you and remember those scriptures as you are having doubt in your mind that you won't be successful in your relationships. So how will we combat the issue of fear of being a failure in your relationship or not succeeding in your relationship? 2 things that I want to talk about. And the first one is knowing that each relationship you enter is different. Each relationship is a new experience. It's going to teach you different things. Now, for those that have been in a relationship and you don't know what the heck happened, crucial to realize that you may have been in this relationship and you thought it was all good and it just failed. But that relationship happened to teach you something for the person that you are actually designed and meant to be with. So don't look at it like, I can't enter a new relationship because I had it good and then I don't know what happened. It's me. No, it's not you. It's a lesson that you were supposed to learn that is going to help you have longevity in a relationship that is really meant for you to have longevity in. So just take that with you if you're in that situation. Know and understand that, going back to comparison, don't compare. Each relationship is going to teach you something different. And number two, I want people to understand that you can't enter. I see so many adults enter relationships without the proper healing. Whether you were physically abused, whether you have trust issues, it's important that you heal. And you need to heal. The healing process is important to regroup and to reclaim. And that's to regroup your thoughts and reclaim your strength as an individual. Because if you're not whole as an individual, you can't possibly be whole to somebody else. If you don't have your thoughts and your mind right, I can't give my husband anything if I don't have my mind right, if I'm not whole as a person. So healing is important in a relationship. Very, very important in a relationship to regroup and reclaim. Remember that. Mark those words down, write it down, quote it, whatever you have to do. Healing is important. If you have a situation where you've been abused, if you have a situation where something has transpired that you feel like is hindering you from having positive relationships, it's important to regroup and reclaim. Regroup your thoughts and reclaim that strength that you lost. So most of the time, in my closing, most of the time we fail at something, or when you fail at something, it's hard to move on. Listen, I totally get it. But you fail when you give up. And that's what I want people to understand in fear of not succeeding in a relationship. Don't give up because you had one bad apple. Now, your next relationship may be another bad apple. But each bad apple is going to teach you, well, maybe I shouldn't get an apple that is a little dark around here. Maybe I should pick different apples. Maybe I should get a different brand of apples. Maybe I should change how I'm picking these apples to get them from spoiling and going bad so quickly. Just because you have one bad apple, you may get a second bad apple, doesn't mean all the apples are bad. I want you to really understand that as you go out in your relationships, you won't get it right on the first, you may not get it right on the first time. You may not get it right on the second time, third or fourth, but you will get it right. And it's important that when you're not getting it right, that you're learning from each experience. Apple 1, you're learning from Apple 1, you're learning from Apple 2. So when you go out into the batch, you can take all these lessons you learn and you can make it right and better for the next relationship. So remember that. Don't be fearful of not succeeding in your relationship. There's tools, there's resources out here. You can visit my website, www.loveinspiry.com, and I will gladly talk with you about these things. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can tune in next week as we talk about the fear of being misunderstood, and have a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. Remember that there's always something to be thankful for.
Yeah. The ones we keep close, we should never let go. So